pressure like a curve. 1, 2, hello world. They got, know my name. They got, know my name. They got, know.
Yo, guys, welcome to the CJ on the Spot podcast. We are in the building, we're in the spot, and like I say before, thank you guys for tuning in to the show. And on this show, we just pretty much gonna have a conversation, whoever I bring on. But the young lady that I'm about to bring on right now is a really good friend of mine. She's one of my best friends. And let me tell you, when I tell this girl has a spirit that's unbelievable. It glows every time she steps into the room. She has been a shining light in her community around the Long Beach, San Pedro area, and even in the UK and on the Ghana scene, where I'm pretty sure she'll talk about a little bit later in the conversation. But I want you guys to give a warm welcome to my special guest, a poet, author, and motivational speaker, Felicia Cade in the building.
Yo. What's going on, C?
Man, nothing. Once again, thank you for coming on the podcast. I appreciate you coming on the podcast, because I know you're a very busy woman. You do a lot of different things, and like especially right now, because I know it's hectic. You know, it's voting season, and I know you work down at the Long Beach Vice Mayor's office, and so I know you guys been doing all kind of activities going up with that. Yeah. So what's been some of your experiences with that though? What's been going on down there, like for the people around the Long Beach area?
You know what? Long Beach is a very progressive city. One thing I love about Long Beach is that it's always had a very community focus, but also forward focused at the same time. And so when it comes to just everything Long Beach, it's all community and it's all moving forward. And so it's been really cool to see from the inside how the system, how the political system works in Long Beach, and just that balance between moving forward and being progressive while maintaining, community relationships and listening to the community too. And Long Beach, I think, is really great at that. So it's been great being a part of Vice Mayor's office. Has been amazing. He's amazing. He's really focused on the community and progress and change. And so I'm grateful to be there. I've only been there for about a month now.
Okay.
So I'm really grateful just to be on board and to really bringing the city forward as it's already moving.
And I know it's so funny because we talked about before, like you had your doubts. Like at first you didn't want to, like when you got back from Ghana, UK, we'll get into that in a little bit, but I remember you came back like, I don't want a job like that. It's not just because it was the vice mayor's office. It was just more lines like, I guess you felt like you really didn't want to work for somebody because there's so much stuff that you had to do. So let's tell me about that little journey when you got back. What was the whole process when you got back from your trips?
When I got back from my trip, it was a spiritual journey. It was a poetic journey. I was able to be an artist. It was listening and learning to trust God, and it was just being free and learning so much. And so it really allowed me to it's kind of like my wild child out, my flower child out. You know what I mean? I don't want to work for nobody, and I want to work for myself and do art and travel and boom. And you need that time, because that's a time in life where you really find yourself and you find your voice, and you make mistakes and you learn, you meet new people, you fall in love, you fall out of it. You know what I mean? It was so much in that journey, and I needed that, you know what I mean? So coming back, I was still there, you know what I mean? Because I wanted to. It wasn't that I didn't want to work for anybody. It was that I didn't want to work without purpose.
Gotcha.
And a lot of jobs,
that's important.
Yeah, a lot of jobs, you're just a number, and there's no purpose attached to your position, and you're replaceable. Yeah. And so when I got back, there was so much purpose in me that I didn't want to be in an environment that didn't have it in it. So when the opportunity came to work with the vice mayor, I was grateful for it, because it was just what I wanted. It was a job, but it was so much purpose. There's so much purpose that's attached to it. There's so much from vibing with community,
especially what's going on in the world right now with everything with the whole Black Lives Matter movement, everything going with the I messed up the acronyms, so I'm going to best of Dave Chappelle, the ABC community, it's so much in Long Beach, like you said, it's a very diverse artsy community and
Right.
and all that. You know, it has a very big black population, has a big LGBTQ community,
Yeah.
obviously in Long Beach. And so for yourself, you to come back, I see what you mean. Like it was the right place for you to be at because you know now you can put your purpose towards where you're working at currently.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and so it gives me a chance to really do community work. And in politics, we all have a different. In America, we have all of our different political beliefs and parties and things like that. But a lot of times, we don't really know how things work behind the scenes. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So we end up blaming one person and really ignoring the fact that there's a whole system behind that one person that he doesn't
Yes.
have a whole lot of things that he can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's really been important for me to be able to really learn at this point how things work behind the scenes, and I think that's what's important, especially for the times we're in now when it comes to like Black Lives Matter and social justice issues. It's important to know how the system works so that we can be a part of changing the system
Yeah.
and having a voice inside of it. And that's how change happens. That's how laws get changed, and even more so than that, that's how culture changes too, because laws influence culture. So
And I know you mentioned that, like you being behind the scenes now, and I know there's some you have some griefs and about certain things that will happen in government. You know, when it regards to the whole Black Lives Matter movement. Since you've been in office, I'm not been in office, but since you've been working in the office, you know, have any of your thought process like, okay, I see why this is the way it is, you know what I mean? Because of the fact now I'm behind the scenes, now I can see. And if more black people maybe saw a little bit more behind the scenes, it was be like, okay, now it's not this person's fault or it's not because of this. You know, what are some things if you come across that? I don't know if I'm coming off right by saying, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, what are some things you come across, working behind the scenes?
I mean, one of the things is just understanding that it's a system. I think that's the biggest thing because I think we tend to think like, like with President Obama, we tend to think like, oh, he didn't do this for black people. He didn't do this and this and this, and not really realizing like, there's a whole system behind
Exactly.
that. It's not just like, what, I'm the man in charge now. Boom, boom, boom. This is gonna happen. This is gonna happen.
Yeah.
Do the Oprah. What's this for you? This is for you. This is for you.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
not that easy. There's a process and there's a system, and there's a structure. And sometimes that the structure and the system creates you know what I mean, a blockage in some of the things that you want done, and they don't get done as fast as you want them to do. So I think if anything, it's helped me to be more patient and more understanding in knowing that we do want to see change, but we have to understand how the system works, and we have to really educate ourselves because it's not enough to want change, but we also have to know how to go about to get it. You know what I mean? How to utilize our voice. How to you have groups like Black Lives Matter who are using their voice, you know what I'm saying? And we don't really, as far as a black community, have any other voices right now that are organizing, talking about, these are laws that need to be passed, you know what I'm saying? And making, you know what I mean? But that's a whole other thing. But
No,
you know what I'm saying?
I get
Like,
you, and feel free to say what you need to say about that. But, it's funny that you mentioned that because I swear, like, I will be having another podcast talking about education on this and bringing in some old teachers teachers I went to high school with that were my teachers, and then we're going to talk about like education nowadays. But just to talk about that just briefly is the fact that I feel like it's hurts right now being a pandemic with all this going on with education because just kids are not going to school like that, just hard learning. I feel.
yeah,
But
definitely.
But on the same token, it's like it's the best time to go, especially because I remember when I was in high school and we had political science and we had to learn about when we had to run for office as a fake, like a mock office run. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I'm like, okay, it's easy. Just, this is my point on this, and that's it.
Yeah.
But now with all these movements going on, like I said, like Black Lives Matter and other movements like that, it's so hard to understand the premise on how office works without having these type of issues. You see, you know what I mean? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like now as a teacher, I have to find out a way if my school district allows me to like, how do we introduce social justice? How do we introduce this? How do we introduce that into a classroom setting? Because that all does affect an election.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
how do you feel about that? And then, like, it sucks because if you're in high school, and let's say that's something you want to teach as a political science teacher, and you do like a mock trial and all that stuff. I'm a mock trial, but like a mock campaign election. Do you have your students argue against Black Lives Matter? Do you have, you know what I'm saying? And what rift does that cause? Are we there yet where we can literally sit in a room and listen to both sides without anybody be like, nah, that's some bullshit. Like, nah,
Yeah.
that's like, nah, like, let them speak, then we speak, and it's a respectful thing, you know,
Yeah.
or
Which
is
we
that too much
need.
is that too much for kids to do in high school? You know what I mean?
I don't think it is, but I think the culture of America is I mean, I hate to say it like this, you know what I'm saying? But like, when I was in the UK, someone referred to America as the global teenagers, you know?
Of course we are.
Like there's a certain like immaturity in conversation that happens here, because if I have to, have a conversation with you where I'm arguing and trying to force my views on you and you me, then I'm not really secure in my views, because I'm trying to hold and protect it from being, you know what I'm saying? I don't want you to pollute my view. But if I'm solid in what I believe, and if I'm solid in my standpoints on any topic, then I can open-heartedly and open ear hear you. You know what I'm saying? Because it's
Go ahead, Philly. I'm sorry.
no, I'm just saying. So it's like it's really us as a culture getting to a point where we can have conversations, and conversations are about being open. Like I have my beliefs and you have your beliefs and your perspectives, and we can talk about something that's different, and maybe we both find a truth that wasn't there.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Most
Maybe I become a little more educated about your perspective, and you and I push you a little deeper into yours. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
and then maybe in between there's some truth that stirs up and happens, but that only happens if we both, you know what I'm saying, loosen up a bit to have an open dialogue, to be able to get to a point to where we can find something. That's what the whole purpose of dialogue is for it to edify both parties.
Yes.
And we don't have enough of that.
And here's the thing, though, Felicia, and this is where me and you kind of differ, because when we talk about, because ever since you got back from the UK and you got back from Ghana, you realize how much different the United States is compared to other countries.
Yeah.
And, it makes you fall in love with the UK.
Yeah.
And we'll go back into that. We'll talk about that. But I think a lot of people forget that the United States, and what your friend said in the UK is absolutely right. United States is a teenager. Why? It's because we are the youngest country ever. Like, this is the youngest country, you know what I mean? But we're also the only country to do a lot of things that we have done. And so going through this is a cycle all within itself. Yeah. So, like people that were in the UK, which is, the Great Britain area, it wasn't too much. I mean, you talking about all systems that come from a monarchy system. Yeah. You know what I mean? The UK was a monarchy system until they got made into the parliaments. And so they went through their revolution, you know what I mean, to a certain degree. And their revolution was people breaking off from the UK, coming to the Americas, you know what I mean, and getting that separation. I don't know who we got in the deal. We got in the, so we must have got the wrong motherfuckers in the deal, coming here, you know what I mean? But
the history of it.
The history of it, you know what I mean? I can't go that far in history with it, and hopefully we get a history teacher on here to let us go that deep in it. But what I'm saying is they came from a monarchy system, and so there's only been one power. Yeah. And but now there's parliament in the UK, so there's different things like that. But it's all centralized, one idea, one culture, really. You know what I mean? There's not, I know there's some diversity in the UK, especially, now. Obviously get that. But, everybody you go to the UK, speaks, or at least has an English accent. Like, like I said, when I was working in certain places, I would be amazed on the accents that black people had in other countries, like especially the UK and France. He's like, there's black Frenchmen. Like, I didn't know this, you know what I mean? But you see what I'm saying? They all have the same dialect. They all know the same thing, even though they have their own, language as well, you know what I mean? But they have adopted to that culture. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's so hard. It's really hard to judge the United States on something because we are young and everything we're doing. Like, how many people in the world have problems, or not problems, with the whole, LGBTQ, you know what I mean? Like, this is fast forward thinking when you think about, like, the United States, even California has really been a catalyst for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Long Beach.
Exactly. Yeah. Whether it be marriage or whatever the case may be, not a lot of countries have that problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Romans had a slight problem, and Roman emperors who were, dating men or having sex with men, you know what I mean? Like back in the, those days, we don't talk about that no more, but people, stuff like that happened.
It still existed.
But not to the extent how it has happened in the United States. The whole like Black Lives Matter movement, like we hadn't had this much, like, when we had the Civil War and fighting over slavery and cotton and all that good stuff. it was not good stuff, you know what I mean, but all that stuff, there was no fighting over really like that slavery type mentality in other countries, you know what I mean, because we housed the slaves here, they were here, you know what I mean, so there was no fight, in the people that got left in Africa, who got left, who were in, some of the ones who went to France, who escaped, or whatever case we want to call it, they didn't have to deal with this social injustice this way, you know what I mean? Yeah. So we're dealing for everything for the first time. The realm of politics, how we do it out here is a lot different than how they do it in other countries. And so this is stuff, we're learning. We're taking what's useful from other places back in the day, you know what I mean? Yeah. When you're making the original Constitution and them writing down all these laws and stuff like that was how could you foresee what was going on, what will be going on, you know what I mean? Yeah. So all I'm saying is she was right by saying that we were some teenagers, but at the same time, how judgmental can you really be with that, knowing that? That's what I'm trying to get at saying. Yeah. But one thing you also said is you fell in love when you went to the UK and in Ghana.
Shout out to the UK. Shout out to all my folks in London.
And you know what? That's what I want to talk about, man. What was it about London that really was I love this place? Because I remember talking to you on the phone, and you I can tell you don't want to come back. You don't want to come back. Yeah. By the way, this woman, she was yo, see, I'm going to go to the UK. And I said, okay, why? She's I just feel like God is calling me to go. And I said, all right, well then answer the call. And I literally was all right, let's go. Put you on a plane, and that's it. She was only no round trip ticket. It was just
one way.
One way.
Yeah.
And you was only going to be there. You're only supposed to be there for 3 weeks?
Yeah. 3 weeks.
And 3 weeks turned into how many months?
6 months.
6 months in the UK. Yeah. So explain that process to me. Explain what happened.
I planned it for 3 weeks, and I just felt the call to go. And then once I got there, I felt like I need more. We do that. We make these trips, and we're like, okay, 3 weeks, but I felt like there was just so much more there for me, and I felt like it just wasn't time to go.
And I'm sorry, Felicia, I had to interrupt you for a quick second because I had to iterate that this woman went there with the funds that she raised from her first book that she did, and with family and friend support while she was out there. Yeah. So that just lets you know how good-hearted person you were, where people were supporting you and your dream for the most part, your adventure. And you weren't even working in the UK. You know what I mean? You were doing some community stuff. I know that, but working, getting a paycheck. I mean, you couldn't work anyway, technically, but you were surviving off of friends and family. Yeah. Because of the kind of person you are. I just want people to know that, people who are listening, some of the maybe the younger viewers or whatever the case may be, just how much it takes to be a good-hearted person, and people will support you when they want to. But you found out who your real friends were in this whole process too. Yeah. So, but I'm sorry, I just had to speak on that.
And
for
that's
a second.
important. I think it's important how you carry yourself. I genuinely love people. Yeah. And I'm honest. I just tell the truth. This is what I need, and I don't take more than what I need. So I think I think my character makes it to where can trust me, trust what I say, and as well just moving in love. That's really been the biggest thing is when you move in love and you genuinely love people, then that love is returned. And when you're honest and when you say something, people trust you and they listen and having, I think those characteristics and those qualities are important. And I did learn, who were really for me. I have people that love me some people were okay, because there were so many different dynamics to the journey. There was a spiritual aspect to where following God's voice. There was an artistic aspect of spreading my poetry, you know what I mean? And then there was an intellectual aspect of expanding my mind and traveling and seeing, and the adventure part. So there were 3 different elements of the trip, and I have people that love me enough to support any one of them. You know what I mean? It wasn't you have to, I have family that didn't understand. Because sometimes I think that people are too close to you to see you and to see your vision and what you're doing, So, so I'm so grateful for friends, especially, for you, you know what I mean? And all of your support and all of my friends in the UK and in London. I mean, people that just met me out there and was like, you know what? I don't know you, but I know you, and I
Yeah.
just love you. Like, what you need,
And they
you
open
know what
their
I'm
door to
saying?
you. They
Open their
give you
door.
places to stay and all that stuff.
Yeah, totally. Shout out to my boy Q in London. My boy Q in London. He opened his space to me. I had a few family and friends that opened their space to me that I'm so grateful for. You know what I mean? And it was a beauty, and it was just like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Your purpose ain't done here yet. Like, what you need, you know what I mean? And God never left me hanging throughout the whole journey. You know what I'm saying? I had patches where I had everything I need. I had patches where I never not had anything I need, but I had patches where it was close. I was like, you cool. I know you said you got me, but you sure?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And God always came through. So, so you do, you know what I mean? It's and I was out there by myself too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So to go on a journey like that, by yourself, just you, God, and the people that love you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage. You know, but I think Maya Angelou, she has this quote. She says, I can't remember what it was, but she was talking about courage being like a really important attribute to obtain, just having just a lot of courage. And so,
Okay. Well, tell me about the good times in the UK. Tell me about what was it that made you fall in love with the UK, London?
Yeah.
What's going on?
You know, it's so crazy because when you say London, like my whole countenance changes. Like I feel like
Yes,
I'm
it
in
does.
love. And it's so crazy that you asked me about London because actually I was sitting on the train this morning and I was thinking, I was like, I want to write a love letter to London. And
That'd be dope.
well, for one, the architecture, you know, they have a lot of old architecture there. So the first thing that I fell in love with was the architecture. Then at first the people were kind of like, you know, nobody really speaks, so they can seem like they're kind of closed off. To a certain extent, everybody's just really polite in a way, you know, they're kind of closed off. But when you get to engaging, it was like, yo, like everybody's cool. So then it was the love, you know, I met some friends out there that were just amazing. It was just like love, but it was also maturity, you know what I mean? It was like love, but also mature. Like the friendships I had out there were really mature, you know what I mean? Like sometimes I forget to call people back and they're like, yo, you can't forget to call me back. Like you need to call me back. Like I'm really worried about you. Like you know what I'm saying? So it's like here in America, it's like sometimes things can feel transactional. And when I was there, like the friendships and the people that I met were like, it was just so much love that it just really opened me up in a different kind of way. And so the maturity and the love, that was the architecture, the friendships, the culture. I learned so much about culture that it made me realize that in America we focus a lot on race and not the color of people and not really the culture. And when I was in London, I realized that there are so many different cultures. Like even with white people, you can't just look and say, oh, somebody white. They might be from Poland, from Russia, from Lithuania. You can't just say somebody black. They might be from Ghana, from the Igbo Islands, from Nigeria.
You know, it's so funny that you mentioned that, Felicia, is the culture in the United States. And I feel like when everybody talks about the black culture, the only thing that's significant to that is the hip hop culture. It's almost like when we say, yeah, you know, the black culture, it's like, okay. But then again, you got to define really what is black culture. Like, you know, a lot of black people don't know what black culture is. You know, we have to define that by, you know, music, you know, stuff that we do, you know, the normal things the music, obviously the things we eat, but we don't have traditions, you know, we don't have Americanized traditions, you know, to my knowledge, you know what I mean? Like,
and it's funny
what are black Americanized traditions that will say that's part of the black culture, other than maybe Sunday dinner? Like maybe that's the only thing that
church. I think church is a big part of it. And a friend, we were just talking the other day about what is culture, and we were saying it's a mixture of things of you know, for us in Black America, it's hip hop. It's the black church, you know what I mean? Which there's a lot of traditions that we got from there, you know, and food, you know what I mean? We all of our culture was stripped from us. I think we got it the worst out of the diaspora.
Yeah.
Because we have like literally got stripped of everything. So we created something, but even in us creating a culture for ourselves here in America, you can still see that, you know, when I went to Africa, one thing I noticed about Africans is that they're very intuitive and spiritual people. Black folks here, same thing. We're very intuitive and very spiritual people.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing, rhythm and music. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's always been innate in us, the rhythm, music,
Yeah.
drums, all that stuff. Because some people don't know, like you can't even. I haven't even did it myself. Trace my lineage back to even to the tribal aspect. I don't know if even if I might even not even be part of a tribe. I don't even know, you know. But even there, even here in America, white folks probably don't even know as far as. But like you said, they could be Poland. They could. I mean, it could be Polish. They could be. They don't know that, and they don't know how to like. You know, hey, this is a Lithuanian dish. This is a this is a Polish dish. This is, you know, and they're so far away from their roots, their
so
cultures.
It's not just a black.
It's not just
lack of identity.
Yeah, it's an American. We've fell so far from the tree. It's like we ran. It's like the apple that fell from the tree and railed down the hill. You know what I mean? It's like not on the hill no more. It's in the bottom. And now he has to know how to fend for himself. Like again, you know, it makes his own tree. You know what I mean? At the end of the day,
and it makes a big difference.
That was a good analogy. Anyway,
so the culture,
the culture.
So the culture versus race.
Mm-hmm.
And so the friendships, the architecture, the culture, and just the intellectual capacity.
Okay.
You know, when I was on a train out there, it's like everybody was reading. You know, and I was fascinated. It was beautiful. And the conversations I had out there were so intellectually expansive that I just loved. And I could have the conversation. I mean, you could be at a coffee shop and it was like, yo, like what? Yeah. This is the kind of conversation y'all got at the coffee shop. So they're very, you know, just really intellectual. And the black folks out there were settled in themselves. You know, the political, not political, but the police structure out there, you know, was different. You know, the cops out there don't have guns. So they do, like, they have a special unit that comes out with guns if it gets that real. Yeah. But for the most part, the police are pretty level-headed. The ones that I've seen and ran across. Not to say for my UK folks, they be like, "No, we got police brutality too." I'm like, I know, but from what I've seen, it's not like it is here. Yeah, exactly. And so it's between all. I mean, just you could tell their education system is different, but the intellectual capacity too. It just felt big enough to hold me. And it rains there all the time, and I love it. I love the rain. It rains there all the time. Like, it rains in the UK like we get sun and good weather.
That's crazy. Yeah. Now, you know, you speak on the culture, you speak on, you know, the educational, I mean, the intellectual part of it. So when that came down to your poetry, because you made it to one of like the top spots out there in the UK. Yeah, shout out to Flow Vortex. Just, you know, I just want to know a little bit more about that journey when it came to your poetry scene. You know what I mean? Like, what was the poetry scene like that out there for you? The poetry scene in the UK was amazing. Okay. Well, for one, it's you can find open mic everywhere, literally, at pubs, at bars, at theaters, and there's a different vibe, but they're full, and the audience is not just other poets; it's people actually appreciate and value poetry out there. I went to some events. One that was at a theater out there that had a full audience, and the majority of the audience wasn't poets. So there's, like, for one, I mean, poetry is everywhere. They're also doing poets out there are doing commercials and doing activism work. You know what I'm saying? The poets out there in themselves are amazing. You know, the poets out there are amazing. Shout out to Miss Yankee, Broken Pit, Woodsy. You know what I mean? I mean, just these poets that are amazing. I mean, from their ability to write, to perform, you know, to really the purpose and the truth in the poetry was just really different. I did notice that there was more of an emphasis on the literary aspect of poetry. And that's what I thought was beautiful about the poetry scene in the UK. And out here in LA, it's more of the performance of it. Okay. Not to say that we don't have the literary part, we do, but it's just more emphasis on and I noticed that little bit difference between the two different places. Because really, out here in LA, you know, I'm not in the scene. You know, you are more in the scene than I am. The two things that you had, not even LA, just say United States, that I know of. You know, you had the Poetry Lounge in LA. Yeah. And that's where a lot of the big time, you know, heavy hitters when it came to poetry. And the funny thing, the only reason I know about them is because of Def Poetry Jam. Yeah. You know, when he brought Def Poetry Jam to New York, it was one of those things that was like, oh, that's dope. But then it faded out because just I feel like the black culture is not accepting of it enough out here in the United States is poetry. I don't know
I
why.
think, I mean, it is.
The
It's
poetry
just,
is more like it's rapping. It's
yeah.
rapping.
Well,
It's like,
what's also too, one of the things I noticed about the poetry scene in the UK was it was really diverse. So just as much black people, you're gonna say as much, just as much white, and just a lot of culture. Same
Yeah.
thing. Out here, you kind of got the black open mics and you got the white open mics, right? So that I think doesn't allow neither to really progress forward. And so
yeah.
as far as it could go, you know what I mean? So what I noticed in the UK was it was about the art fully. Like it was about the art. It was about poetry. So I saw white poets out there that were dope. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I saw, black poets that blew my mind, and poets from different poets from other cultures as well. But I saw the inclusion of both. You know what I mean? I saw really diverse crowds of poetry that was amazing, which I think goes to the progression of it as well.
Yeah.
As how when we work together, diverse wise, how it pulls us all forward, and it pulls the art forward when there aren't so many focuses on the little things. You know what I mean? So it's I mean, the poetry scene, and the poetry scene just welcomed me with open arms. You know what I'm saying? I hit a few open mics, and the poets out there just really like, yo, where you at? Come to the spot, and just really loved on me.
Yeah.
And when I went to Flow Vortex, and for those of you that don't know who Flow Vortex is, like one of the top open mics in the UK, run by the Flow Assist, who's an ex-member of the Flowetry. When I went there, I told her, like, sis, like, I'm from LA, like, can I get on? She like, yo, look, I got you. You know what I'm saying? Like, just love from the top. So I was able to go out there and really share my art, which is like it was pretty much my heart. And it was amazing. It was amazing. Like,
Now we've gone this whole time and haven't touched on any of your poetry. I want you to touch, like, how do you describe yourself as a poet? Or do you describe yourself as a poet? Okay.
I do describe myself as a poet. I would describe myself as the purest part of your conscience.
Okay. That's deep.
Right? The purest part of your conscience. I would
That's
describe
a good title for our next book. I'm just
Listen,
saying.
the
I'm gonna
purest
throw
part
that
of
out.
your conscience.
I'm gonna throw that out there. I'm just throwing it out
Yeah.
there. That sounds pretty good. But go ahead.
I think, and I'm gravitating into a space where, the journey of poetry is all about going deeper into yourself and telling the truth.
Yes.
And there's these truths that we keep hidden, and some that we can't really see.
Yeah.
Because we don't really have a voice to pull it out. It's like the truth is in me, but I don't really know how to say it. I don't know how to convey it. And I think as an artist and as a poet, what we say and convey is there, but it's just that everybody doesn't have the words. And so I think our gift of words gives us the ability to really tap into that space of honesty that we're all searching for, to give us the kind of freedom that we're looking for, because I think we all want freedom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when it comes to poetry, I think that it's the ability to free the things in people that are stuck or that don't have a voice and that need to get out, you know? So I think that, poetry is a weapon.
Yeah. So I know you just wrote a book.
I did.
Speak on this book. Plug the book, first of all.
Hey!
I want you to plug the book because I know it's going to be amazing. I got the first book.
Hey.
And that was already, I'm waiting for
Collected Pieces and Shed Skin.
Which can be found
on Amazon. Just type in your girl's name in. You'll see my little colorful
cover.
My colorful cover pop up.
But what I'm sorry, Felicia.
Yeah.
You have to do this again. You have to do another little mini play. This girl put on like a little mini play of her poetry, some of her poems. Yeah. And it was like, if you ever seen the movie For Color Girls, it was kind of like that aspect of it where she acted out. We had music behind it and everything. And it was such an amazing experience. Like, I swear, if we can get a bunch of different poets to do that, because you know what, that's what comedy does right now. Like on Comedy Central, they have I think it's Comedy Central, they have a show called Laugh Tracks. And basically it's stand-up comedians. They tell the people from, I think, Comedy Central, their joke, and they turn the joke into a live action thing. And I'm like, why not do that with your poetry? Like, why not get you, a couple other poets, and you put on, like, For Color Girls, like a play. That's just your poetry. And, small little black box theater, That would be
do it.
that would be
Yo,
amazing.
And see, you was there.
Yeah, it was magical.
You
I
helped
loved it.
Part of the production team for it. It was amazing. And I don't have it on video, so it's like if you were there and you got to experience it, it was all yours.
I was so mad that you did not have that shit recorded. Like I was
know.
like, you and Jay don't record shit that y'all do. Like
I know.
Jay had a bomb show that he did too, and he just never recorded it. It's just pretty funny. But yeah, it was an exclusive thing. But you had an audience there. You had at least 75 people there.
Yeah,
and
it was a full house.
For a full house and I know it don't sound like a lot to you guys out there, but
it
for
was a small theater.
Yeah.
We reached the cap actually.
Yeah, the cap. Yeah, exactly. With everybody that was working it and everybody that was there, I think the cap was like 85 people or 90 people, and there were 75. Not including people that was working behind the scenes and stuff like that. But anyway, it was great. But yeah, tell me about the book. It was
amazing. We worked for a few months on it. Oh, the book. Okay, so
the new book. Yeah.
Okay, so the new book is called Hallway Confessions.
Wow.
When love leaves you in a hallway, won't let you leave and won't let you stay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that. It's a confessional about a situation.
Uh-oh.
Right? I don't want to get on my Jada tip where I use words. You know how poets, we get to use words to hide stuff like entanglement.
Yeah, we get entanglement.
You know. But Hallway Confession, I don't want to give too much away about it because I want people to be able to find their own experience in the experience. But I will say that Hallway Confessions is a book about love, about just the different, for me on a personal level, it was about being in this hallway and learning about love from a hallway perspective.
Yeah.
So it's really just like when, I don't know how to describe it. It's like when love, sometimes you reach these situationships or situations in love where you want to be with somebody and they're scared, or you want to be with somebody but you're scared, right? And so it kind of leaves the situation in this hallway kind of thing where you both trying to figure out who you are and what you want, all while being on the brink or on the edge of something really beautiful and something deep, you know what I mean? But I think on both ends of the scale, there's this metamorphosis that has to happen. You have to find yourself and your voice and really think about, it's almost like when you come in contact with love, what it makes you think about, and so in Hallway Confessions, I talk about just my different experiences from the beginning of the situationship from the beginning of the situation, from the beginning of me falling for somebody and what it did to me, the things that I was thinking about, and I think the things that we all think about, when we fall in love and
well, your fall in love situation was a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I know you usually don't like talking about it.
Well, I don't mind talking about it.
But we on the spot. I gotta put you on the spot.
It's okay.
And it's one of those things where, okay, so you kind of fell in love with another woman.
Yeah, I did.
And that battle of you fighting against, I don't know if you want to call it religion or fighting against, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people say, well, there's religion, and then there's church, and then there's like the other things. You know what I mean? So you're not talking on very long, but briefly to just maybe describe, how you felt going through that transition and what you thought that really meant. And what at the end of it, what was your final thoughts, about it? You know what I mean?
Well, I think the hardest part about it was it hit me unexpectedly. You know what I mean? And it was like, you kind of walking along minding your business and then boom, like, whoa. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was something that I didn't see coming, you know what I mean? Because if it was up in my mind, I'm like, okay, you have the plan, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a church girl. I'm going to be with a man and have a baby. You know what I mean? And whoop, 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 you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had dated a woman before, you know what I mean, and came out of it. And so I never expected to be hit with it again, So then when this happened, it hit me and it was like, whoa. And it was I think the most beautiful feeling I had felt in a while,
But I didn't even think with that previous relationship you were in, which was the first woman you was ever with, you weren't really in it. Like you weren't really like feel like
psychologically, I couldn't allow myself to be in it because there was I can't be like gay or with a woman or have feelings because God said this abomination is woo 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 woo, right? So growing up in a very religious environment, you're taught like, you know, you choose one or the other. You know, you
Yeah.
either love God or you hate sin, or you going to hell. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's very dogmatic. There's no room to breathe. There's no room to make mistakes, and there's no room to find answers.
Yeah.
And so this round, what happened was that my relationship with God had grown so much to where I didn't feel like, because I had fallen in love with a woman, I no longer belonged to God, because it was I got this sense of daughtership, like I belong to God. Like I can't unbelong to God, like I can't unbelong to my mother, you know? And so it's this belonging that helped me this time to not feel like, okay, God hates me, because it's a relationship, you know what I'm saying? And so this time what I did was I found a way to give myself permission to just be, you know, and it was like, I don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe I end up with it. Maybe this is a reflection and a journey to help me find myself, to prepare myself for my husband. I don't know. And I think a lot of times when it comes to the battle for sexuality, we don't spend enough time in the I don't know, you know, and you end up with, you know, the gay community that's like, hey, come, you are one, accept yourself. And then the Christian community, like, you going to hell. And between those two communities, it could be a lot of pressure. And most people feel pressure, hurry up and make a decision. And I gave myself permission to say, hey, you can figure it out. You know what I mean? Because some of our, you know, the battle for sexuality is a process. There's a lot that's in it emotionally, spiritually, and even intellectually. So I really just, this round, was able to just give myself the freedom to just be and experience and to ask God questions and to find the answers to the questions within myself. And I'm still on that journey. And I don't know where it's going to lead me, but I know that I love God with my whole heart, and I know that it has always been a part of my character to seek truth. And so I don't know where I'll end up, but I know I'll end up in the truth. And maybe I find a truth that, you know, those in the same battle have never been able to find. Maybe I find something different. I don't know. But I know that today I'm comfortable with telling myself the truth and with being my authentic self in front of God and not feeling ashamed or condemned.
And I definitely want to take the time to say how much I'm proud of you. You know, you don't need me to say that.
Thank you, Steve.
But for you to, because before you would never want to talk about it. You would never want to come out and say, like, I've had these experiences.
Yeah.
And for me, I've never really said anything about it. But, you know, I can't, it's not my job to pass judgment.
Yeah.
That's not my job.
Yeah.
My name is not Christ. I can't pass judgment. That's not my job.
Yeah.
My job is just to love on you. That's all I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And if I feel like, if you know, I'm not the big church going person, like I don't go to church every day or every Sunday, whatever it can be, but I know how much God loves me, and I know how much God just wants to put love out there into the world, and love thy neighbor. You know, whether you're going through what you're going through, you know, only thing I can say is like, look, you good, you sure, I got you. And when that happens, it's just a magical thing, because once you get to that level, and you know, some people want to say it's a democratic thing, it's a liberal thing. I mean, you know, I don't know how many times, if you can, I feel like love, other than God and Christ, is probably the most repeated word in the Bible. It has to be, because love thy neighbor and all this stuff. Like, you know, if it's a sin so much for me to be with the same sex, you know what I mean? If it's that much of a sin, you know, how much does love overcome that sin? You know, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? If you love this woman, like genuinely love this woman, because, you know, when Christ was here, when Jesus was here, he loved Peter. He loved, you know, he loved all his disciples. He loved them. He said it in the Bible that I love, you know, to a certain degree, I love these men. You know what I mean? Didn't mean that we didn't think he was going out there doing stuff, but it's, you know what I'm saying? But that's it's just a difference. But that's love. You know what I mean? It's just a love. I love you enough. And the only thing that comes into the play of it is, you know, a physical attribute. It's a physical attribute. You know, you know, I can say how I said, like,
love takes different. Love, and someone said something, you know, that in my ultra religious days, I probably wouldn't have been able to accept it, but they said, like, love has no gender, and it doesn't. You know, neither does lust. Like the church, like, it doesn't have a gender, but genuine love, you know, is for me, you know, what I've learned is that it's all about just it's a reflection of yourself.
Tess, everything you've gone through, you know, when you went to Ghana, you know, realizing, you know, back to the motherland and seeing a lot of that stuff, how much does all this have impacted your poetry, you think, though?
It's impacted my poetry. It's my travels have impacted my poetry in a way where it's gave me the freedom to really, really just be.
Mm.
You know, it's gave me the ability to be vulnerable. You know, and I think I was telling someone the other day, like, you ever notice in church how when they give their testimony, it's always after.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they always get after the Lord brought me through, but you never hear the testimony while they're in it.
Yeah.
And I think the beautiful part about poetry and the space that I'm getting with my art is where I'm able to tell the truth now and not about yesterday. And it takes more courage to tell the truth now because it takes more vulnerability. And one thing about my art now, I can say that the space in which I'm stepping into is I'm stepping in a place where it could really be effective because that vulnerability is needed. And the now is needed, you know?
And Felicia, the word you're using right now, vulnerability, is the best thing to say right now, because in order to have true love, you have to have vulnerability.
Yeah.
No matter what. Even the hardest thug. You know, there's a woman out there that loves the hardest thug, but maybe not because he's a thug, but because that little bit of vulnerability, that little thing people see, you know, she sees in him that's like you don't see it because he's not vulnerable enough to you. But that's why I love him. Yeah. Or that's why I love her. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you have to be vulnerable. Like, there's certain men out there who feel like they can't be that way, and you need to be that way if you truly want to accept love. You know what I mean? And be loved on. You know what I mean? I had to learn that, you know, until I'm already vulnerable and open up myself to things I like to do. Like, I would never tell women, like, yeah, I collect toys, like whatever, you know, and people are like, but it's a vulnerability, you know, I get really emotional in certain movies, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, it's like, once people accepted that vulnerability, I was able to receive more love from it, you know, and just wish out the haters and wish out the people who were going them out. Yeah.
That's what opens the valve, you know what I mean, for love is vulnerability. But the hard part about vulnerability is that you're scared of rejection, you know, and we have a society that we're scared of vulnerability because we're scared of being rejected or not accepted. And the scary part about it is dealing with the rejection of it.
Yes.
But the beautiful part about it that I don't think we consider is what happens when two valves open fully.
Speak on that. Two valves opening fully.
You know what I mean?
I love Felicia because you always come with these metaphors, analogies.
You know,
that's just. Now, I know y'all like, what is she talking about? But just listen. Yeah. Because, you know, they said it best in White Man Can't Jump, and I'm going to probably mess this up. It says, it's like, you hear what I'm saying, but you're not listening. And so a lot of people out here are hearing things, but that's not listening. And that's a difference. You know what I mean? So,
because you can only get what you give.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like having a house. You know what I'm saying? Most of us let people in the living room, maybe the bathroom, maybe, you know, a few of the other cool rooms.
If it's clean enough,
but not the basement. You know what I'm saying? And I think when you open yourself up fully, vulnerability wise, and you let somebody completely in, you're able to experience what it's like to have somebody completely in, and you end up operating out of a space of fullness because you're fully seen and fully known and fully loved.
Right.
But the thing is, we don't really let people fully in, or we progressively do it. But we still hold stuff, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's stuff that we can't see.
Yeah, I understand.
Sometimes it's stuff we can't see, you know what I mean? So I think just when two valves open, you know what I mean? When you see somebody and you decide to, and you fall in love or whatever the case, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You open up, you know, and that's what love is supposed to do. It's this acceptance. It's this seeing, this deep sea, like, I see you, almost like the beginning of one of my poems. I see you. All of you, even the parts that you try and hide from yourself, realizing that your dark sides are just places where your soul hasn't been kissed yet.
See?
And that's just saying, listen, and that's just saying, like, I was reading this book by Octavio Paz, and it's called Love, the Double Flame. Love. It talks about love and eroticism, and he said that love always asks a question, and the question that it asks is, who are you? Love always asks, who are you? And it's this continual search, you know what I'm saying? As you're searching for yourself, someone else is. It's just this thing, but.
That's deep.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
But Felicia, listen, I know you got skills with the poetry.
Yeah.
Right? So what I want to do is, I wanted you to do an impromptu poem.
Boom. Okay.
I'm gonna give you
on the spot.
And here's the thing. That's why we here. CJ, you're on the spot.
Okay.
And we're gonna say, I'm gonna give you a beat. Because I know you like, I know when you like to feel the music.
Okay.
And then it's not gonna, now ladies and gentlemen, this is not gonna be a rhyme. This is gonna be a poetry, but with a little beat in the background, you know, brought to you by my boy Larrell Johnson, who has been doing great things, and he'll be on the podcast here later on this month. But I want to play this beat for you, just and feel it for a second, and then that's how I want to close out this CJ on the Spot podcast. So here it is. I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna play this song, and you just let me know.
Where to flow?
You know, when you start, whenever you want to, you can start when you want to.
Okay, let's see. Oh, this is nice. All right. I'm finally flowing in my femininity. Finally free. A fully blossomed flower that bursts fruit in every season. I'm just mad it took so long to see and to be happy, like truly happy, without the existence of any other thing or any other being, but to be happy on your own, inside of yourself. Ain't nothing like it in the world. Ain't nothing like it in the world. And I don't know what's to come, but I know that when we open ourselves up to the world, to God, that anything is possible. So I'm open to the impossible. I'm open to the impossible. And I believe that I will see things that many haven't seen. Wonders and miracles. Flowers, the stillness of trees, wisdom. And I want all of it. And then some.
Oh, yes. Felicia. Oh,
look,
my
on
God.
The spot,
On the spot with it real quick, man. Like, this thing is, I can't believe it, man. They going crazy for my girl Felicia Cade in the building right now. Going crazy out there for you, man. Felicia, thank you for blessing us with your time right now. I know you're a busy woman, and I appreciate you so much for coming on the CJ on the Spot podcast. And real quick, give them one more shout out. Where they can find your Instagram, your social media, all that good stuff.
Okay, for one, thank y'all for listening and rocking with us on the show. Shout out to my boy CJ, who is an amazing host.
Appreciate it.
And an even more amazing friend. I want to say, follow me on Instagram at RiseFelicia_speak. Follow me on Facebook as Felicia Cade, FELICIA, and then CADE. And follow me, I'll follow back. Holla at your girl.
Oh, my God. Once again, thank you, Felicia, for coming on the Thank you for coming on the CJ on the Spot podcast. I really do appreciate you. And you guys are out there listening. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for listening. And stay tuned next week from another special guest. We out here, guys. CJ on the Spot podcast. Remember, do your thing. Love on all. Let's get it.
Hello world, boys and girls, shine your light bright like diamonds and pearls. You could be anything in this world. Weight on your shoulder, let that pressure like a curl. 1, 2, hello